Hello again. Andersen. The Flying Trunk. Not read this before, here we go. There was once a merchant who was so rich that he could have paved the whole street with pieces of silver and perhaps an alley besides. But he did not do so. He knew another way of using his money. Such a good trader was he that whenever he laid out a shilling, he gained a crown in return, till he died. All his money went to his son, and he lived merrily, went to a masquerade every evening, made banknotes into paper kites, and played at ducks and drakes in the pond with gold pieces instead of stones. In this manner he soon spent all his money. At last he had nothing but 4 shillings left, and no other clothes but a pair of slippers and an old dressing gown. His friends cared no more about him, now that they could no longer walk abroad with him. One of them, however, more good-natured than the rest, sent him an old trunk, with this advice: "Pack up and be off." This was all very fine, but he had nothing to pack up, so he himself got into the trunk. It was a wonderful trunk. When the lock was pressed, it could fly. He did press the lock, and lo, up flew the trunk with him through the chimney. High into the clouds, on and on, higher and higher. Whenever the trunk creaked, he was in a terrible fright, for if it had broken in two, he would have made a tremendous somersault. Only fancy it, in such manner he came to the country of the Turks, where he hid the trunk under a heap of dry leaves in a wood, and walked into the next town. And there he found that everybody was clad as he was, in dressing gown and slippers. He met a nurse carrying a little child in her arms. "Pardon me, Turkish nurse," said he, "can you tell me what that great castle is close to the town, the castle where the windows are so high up?" "The Sultan's daughter dwells there," replied the nurse. "It has been prophesied of her that she shall be made very unhappy by a lover, and therefore no one may visit her, except when the Sultan and Sultana are with her." "Thank you," said the merchant's son, and he went back into the wood and sat down in his trunk, flew up to the roof of the palace, and crept through the window into the princess's room. She was lying asleep on the sofa, and she was so lovely that the merchant's son could not help kissing her. At this she awoke, and was dreadfully frightened till her visitor told her that he was the Turkish prophet, and had come down from the sky to see her, and this pleased her greatly. They sat down side by side, and he talked to her about her eyes, calling them beautiful dark blue seas where thoughts and feelings floated like mermaidens, and he spoke of her brow as a fair snowy mountain, and many other such things he said to her, and when he proposed to her, she at once said yes. "But you must come here on Saturday," said she. "The Sultan and Sultana are to drink tea with me that evening. They will be very proud when they hear that I am to marry the Turkish prophet. And you must tell them a very pretty story, for they are fond of stories. My mother likes them to be rather high-flown and with a moral. Father likes them to be funny, so as to make him laugh." "Very well, then, I shall bring you no other wedding present than a story," replied the merchant's son. Then they parted, but not before the princess had given him a saber all covered in gold. He knew right well what use to make of this present. So he flew away, bought a new dressing gown, and then sat down in the wood to make up the story which was to be ready by Saturday. At last he was ready, and at last Saturday came. The Sultan and the Sultana and the whole court were at tea with the princess, and received him with much ceremony. "Will you not tell us a story?" asked the queen, "a story that is instructive and full of deep meaning?" "But let it make us laugh," said the king. "With pleasure," replied the merchant's son, and this is what he told them. There was once a bundle of matches that were extremely proud of their high descent. They traced their family to the tall fir tree of which each of them was a splinter, and which had been a tree of great age and size in the wood. The matches were now lying on the mantelpiece between a tinder box and an old iron saucepan, and to these two they often talked about their youth. "Ah, when we were upon the green branches," said they, "when we really lived upon green branches, that was a happy time. Every morning and evening we had diamond tea, that is dew. The whole day long we had sunshine, at least whenever the sun shone, and all the little birds used to tell us stories. It might easily be seen, too, that we were rich, for the other trees were clothed with leaves only during the summer, whereas our family wore green clothes both summer and winter. At last came the woodcutter. What a revolution that was, and our family was broken up. The head of the family got a situation as mainmast to a magnificent ship, and can sail round the world when he will. The other branches of our family were scattered in different directions, and to us was given the task of enlightening the common people. Now you will understand how it comes to pass that persons of our class are living in a kitchen." "Mine has been a very different story," said the iron saucepan, near which the matches were lying. "From the moment I came into the world, I have been rubbed and scrubbed and boiled over and over again. I love to have to do with what is solidly good, and am really of the first importance in this house. My chief pleasure is to stand clean and bright upon this mantelpiece after dinner, and to have some sensible talk with my companions. But except the water pail, who now and then goes out into the court, we all of us lead a very quiet life here. Our only newsmonger is the market basket, but he talks in such an alarming way about government and the people. Why, not long ago there was an old jar standing here who was so much shocked by what he heard that he fell down and broke to pieces. That market basket is a liberal, that's the fact." "Now, you talk too much," broke in the tinder box, and the steel struck the flint so that the sparks flew out. "Why should we not spend a pleasant evening?" "Yes, let us settle who is of highest rank among us," proposed the matches. "Oh, no, for my part, I would rather not speak of myself," said the saucepan. "Let us have some other kind of amusement. I will begin. Let us tell something that has happened to ourselves. It will be easy to throw ourselves into that, and very interesting. Near the Baltic, among the Danish beech groves." "That is a capital beginning," cried all the plates at once. "It will certainly be just the sort of story for us." "Yes, there I spent my youth in a very quiet family. The furniture was rubbed, the floors were washed, clean curtains were hung up every fortnight." "What a charming way you have of describing things," said the carpet broom. "Anyone might guess at once that it is someone who has been much in the company of ladies who is speaking. Such a pure tone runs through the story." "Very true. One feels that," cried the water pail, and he gave a little leap of joy, so that some of the water splashed upon the floor. And the saucepan went on with his tale, and the end was just as good as the beginning. All the plates clattered applause, and the carpet broom took some green parsley out of the sand hole and crowned the saucepan, for she knew that this would vex the others, and she thought, if I crown him today, he will crown me tomorrow. Now I will dance, said the tongs, and accordingly she did dance. And oh, it was wonderful to see how she spun round on one leg. The old chair cover in the corner split with surprise at the sight. Am I not to be crowned too? Asked the tongs, and she was crowned. These are the vulgar rabble, thought the matches. The tea urn was now called upon to sing, but she said she had a cold and could only sing when she was boiling, which, of course, was all pride and affectation. The fact was, she never cared to sing except when she was standing on the parlor table before company. In the window lay an old quill with which the maids used to write. There was nothing remarkable about her except that she had been dipped too deep in the ink. But she was proud of that. If the tea urn does not choose to sing, said she may let it alone. There is a nightingale in a cage outside that can sing. To be sure, he has never learnt the notes, but we will not speak evil of anyone in this evening. I think it highly improper, said the tea kettle, who was the vocalist of the kitchen and a half-brother of the tea urns, that a foreign bird should be listened to. Is it patriotic? I appeal to the market basket. I am vexed, said the market basket. I am inwardly vexed more than anyone can think. Is this a becoming way of spending the evening? Would it not be much more sensible to put the house in order? Then everyone would get into his right place. What do you say? I would lead the game. That would be something worth the doing. Well, then, let us set about it at once, cried they all. Just then the door opened. It was the servant maid. They all stood still. Not one dared stir. Yet there was not a single pot there but was thinking about the great things he could have done, and how great was his superiority over the others. Ah, if I had chosen it, thought each of them, what a merry evening we might have had. The maid took the matches and struck a light. Oh, how they sputtered and blazed up. Now everyone may see, thought they, that we are of highest rank. What a splendid light we give. And while they were speaking, they were burnt out. That is a capital story, said the Sultana. I feel quite as if I were in the kitchen listening to the matches. Yes, you shall have our daughter. With all my heart, said the Sultan. On Monday you shall marry our daughter. And from that moment they treated the young man as one of the family. On the evening before the wedding, the whole city was illuminated. Cakes, buns, and sugar plums were thrown out among the people. All the little boys in the streets stood upon tiptoe, shouting, "Hurrah!" and whistling through their fingers. Altogether, it was a splendid affair. Well, I suppose I ought to do my part too, thought the merchant's son. So he went and bought skyrockets, squibs, Catherine wheels, Roman candles, and all kinds of fireworks conceivable, put them all into his trunk, and flew up into the air, letting them off as he flew. All the Turks jumped up to look, so hastily that their slippers flew about their ears. Such a meteor they had never seen before. Now they might be sure that it was indeed the prophet who was to marry their princess. As soon as the merchant's son had returned in his trunk to the wood, he said to himself, I will go into the city and hear what people say about me, and what sort of figure they think I made in the air. It was quite natural that he should wish to know. Oh, what strange accounts were given. Everyone whom he spoke to had beheld the bright vision in a way of his own, but all agreed that it was a very beautiful sight. I saw the great prophet with my own eyes, declared one. He had eyes like sparkling stars, and a beard like foaming water. He flew away in a mantle of fire, said another, and the prettiest little cherubs were peeping forth from under its folds. He heard many other wonderful things about himself, and next day was to be his wedding day. He now went back to the wood, intending to get into his trunk again, but alas, the trunk was burnt. One spark from the fireworks had been left in it, and had set it on fire. The trunk now lay in ashes. The poor merchant's son could never fly again, could never again visit his bride. She sat the livelong day upon the roof of her palace, expecting him. She expects him still. He, meantime, goes about the world telling stories, but none of his stories now are so pleasant as that one which he told in the princess's palace about the brimstone matches. Yeah, dude.